welcome back. Now, the next piece of news which we are going to cover is the Constitution Day. We celebrate the Constitution Day every year on 26th of November. Now, most of you who might have covered polity might be knowing this fact, or who might not have covered polity also might be knowing this fact, that the preamble of the Constitution has a date inscribed on it or written on it, and the date is 26th of November, and that was the day when this Constitution was I would say completed, and that had to be adopted. Okay, but we adopted the Constitution on 26th of January. (1950). But the Constitution was ready, signed by each member of the Constituent Assembly which was making the Constitution on 26th November 1949, and this date is there on the preamble also, and on this date we celebrate the Constitution Day, the day on which the Constitution was complete to be adopted. It had to be adopted on 26th November 1949 only, but we delayed it by 2 months and we adopted it on 26th January 1950. There was a reason behind this fact, and the reason is there in history. Now, in the 1929 session, the Lahore session, I think, or of the Indian National Congress, we adopted this resolution of Purna Swaraj, okay, and Purna Swaraj resolution was adopted on 26 January 1930. Just to commemorate this day, or just to remember, or in remembrance of this day, 26 January 1930, the day on which we pledged Purna Swaraj, means complete independence, we delayed the date of adopting the Constitution by 2 months, from 26 November to 26 January, and here the Republic Day is celebrated every year. But 26 November has been named as the Constitution Day. November 26, adoption of the Constitution of India, but adoption was actually done on 26 January. Union Cabinet decided to celebrate November 26 as Constitution Day, 125th birth anniversary of B.R. Ambedkar also we are celebrating this year. Now, the history of Constitution Day. The Constituent Assembly adopted the present day Constitution on November 26, 1949, but it was decided that it will come into effect after a gap of almost 2 months, that is on 26 January 1950. During this 2-month break, the members of the Constituent Assembly thoroughly read it in order to find any mistakes. The Constituent Assembly met for 2 years, 11 months and 18 days, a total of 166 days before adopting the Constitution. Not actually, this is a misprint, not 166 days, it is more than that, 2 years with 365 into 2 plus 11 months. So, you can calculate the days. Initially, it had been written in both English and Hindi and had been signed by each member of the assembly. So, make fact correction over here, it is not 166 days, you can calculate the days, you can search on Google, okay. And this kind of fact is not so important for UPSC as well. Now, when I talk about the next piece of news, is with respect to UN country team. Now, to understand this concept or to understand what UN country team is, I will have to take you to the green board, but anyways, first we will understand the Union Minister of Environment, Forest and Climate Change recently addressed the special meeting of UN country team on COP27 of UNFCCC. Okay, we have discussed this at length. Okay, but what is UN country team? We will first see. Okay. Now, United Nations 5 principal organs are there and multiple specialized agencies. I think 18 or 19 specialized agencies are there. Example, WHO, WMO, World Meteorological Organization, then World Bank, IMF, IPU, International Postal Union, International Telecommunication Union. All these are examples of specialized agencies. And UN has its office in every country. Like let's suppose in India, all the members of, or I would say some members of each principal organ will be here in India. UN will be deputing them. From these specialized agencies, these members will be deputed here in India. Likewise, in every country, UN will be deputing members from every specialized agencies or the principal organs in the country. In every country which is a member country, there are 193 member countries. Okay. So, representatives of various specialized agencies, representatives of various principal organs are here in India, okay, in the UN office. Now, what is UN country team? UN country team basically is that team in a country which is dealing with sustainable development. Sustainable development as a concept, if you have to understand what sustainable development is, sustainable development is that development which you are doing in the present, but without compromising the needs of the future generations. You are taking into account, or you are considering that the future generation also needs to survive, also needs to develop. So, we are utilizing the resources in the present so that these resources are left for the utilization of the future generations. Like for example, electricity is generated from coal. So, what if we exhaust all the coal now and we leave nothing for the future generations? They will not be able to survive. So, what we are doing? We are finding alternate technologies, like we found solar energy. Okay. So, by use of solar energy, we will be reducing the usage of I would say coal for I would say electricity generation. We will be keeping it for future generations, and we will be using solar generation, solar power generation, and by doing so, we are also protecting or conserving the environment, so that the environment is also good for the future generations. This is an example of sustainable development. So, all those specialized agencies of the United Nations or principal organs of the United Nations which are dealing with sustainable development in a particular country is called as United Nations country team. That team in a country of the United Nations organs or the specialized agencies which is dealing with sustainable development, environment conservation and all. Okay. So, I would say a new term, and UPSC can ask that what is the basic, I would say, goal of UNCT. Exists in 132 countries, okay, and includes all the UN entities working on sustainable development, emergency recovery and transition. All UN entities means UN entities, specialized agencies, or you can say these principal organs. The UNCT is led by the UN Resident Coordinator, who is the representative of UN Secretary General in a given country. UN Secretary General is represented by this UN Resident Coordinator. UNCT ensures interagency coordination and decision making, and it includes the UN Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework, which basically deals with the fulfillment of sustainable development goals in a country. A resident coordinator system. Who is a resident coordinator system? It ensures the coordination of all organizations of the United Nations dealing with operational activities for development at the country level, regardless of the nature of their presence in the country. So, that person who is the representative of United Nations Secretary General. UN Secretary General is the head of United Nations Secretariat. That is a principal organ, and he is the face of United Nations. Presently, UN Secretary General is Antonio Guterres. Okay. That person will install or that person will depute a, I would say, resident coordinator in every country, and that resident coordinator is the head of UN's every staff over there in any country, and he is also the head of UN country team. He is also looking after UN country team. UN country team is that team which involves the members of various teams or various, I would say, specialized agencies or principal organs representatives in India who are specifically dealing with sustainable development. So that is headed by the resident coordinator, this UN country team. It encompasses UN coordinator, the UN country team, the resident coordinator's office, served by UN Development Coordination Office. So this is basically about the UN country team. We have a very important topic here, that is pendency of cases in the Indian judiciary system. We might have heard a lot about the pendency of cases, and according to some estimates, more than 4 crore cases are pending in the Indian courts, and we've seen that figure in I would say various topics which we covered, that is NALSA and all we covered earlier. I think July, August we covered NALSA and all. So this is a very big issue, that a lot of cases are pending in the Indian judiciary system, due to which justice is delayed. When justice is delayed, when the judiciary is so lagging, it has a considerable amount of impact on every, I would say, aspect of life here in the country. Like for example, justice delivery is not smooth, so it would motivate me, or it would falsely motivate me to violate the law, because I would be knowing that cases are pending in the courts, I'll get tarikh pe tarikh, I'll get adjournments and I'll live my life freely. And these kind of I would say behavior actually impacts the social fabric of the country. Okay. Apart from it, foreign investors, companies, they will not be willing to come and invest here in India, because they feel that if any litigation happens, then we will be tied up unless and until the hearing is done, because the judicial setup in India is not that effective, or it is not that smooth. It impacts the economic, I would say, development also in a country. It hampers the social fabric, it impacts the social, I would say, economic well-being also. So that is not desirable. The present setup of the judiciary, Supreme Court, the apex court, high courts, and we have the district and subordinate courts. Okay. Apart from it, we have tribunals and all, those are specialized courts for certain, I would say, domains. So this is the present judicial setup, and pendency of cases is huge. We will look into that, up to what level the pendency of cases are there, what have been the various recommendations, the causes, which is the main point, that why cases are pending, and in the causes only we will find solutions. Okay. 47 million means 4.7 crore it is the largest number of pending court cases in the world. If any country has, it is here in India. As per the National Judicial Data Grid, 57,987 cases in the Supreme Court are pending, 49 lakh cases are pending in the high courts, 2.4 crore cases are pending in India's district courts, out of which 23 lakh cases, that is 9.58%, have been pending for over 10 years, and 39 lakh, that is 16.44% of the cases, have been pending for between 5 to 10 years. This is alarming. A Law Commission report in 2009, this is interesting, has quoted that it would require 464 years to clear the backlog, or to clear the arrears with the present strength of judges. 2000 paper by Niti Aayog, it said that it would take more than 324 years to clear the backlog. Now, if I see the data through the years, pendency in 2019, Supreme Court 59,000, High Courts 46 lakh 84,000. District subordinate courts 3 crore 22 lakh 96,224. December 2019. Now as of December 2020, 64,000 it saw an increase, 46,000 again saw an increase, so 46 lakh to 56 lakh, then 3 crore 22 lakh to 3 crore 66 lakh, December 2020. Then when I come in 2021, 69,855 again an increase, 56,049 or 56 lakh 49,000 again an increase, although of 7,000 only, but yes, increase is there. Then 3 crore 66 lakh to 4 crore 5 lakh, a substantial increase. Pendency in 2022, again an increase 70,000. Here again an increase of roughly, I would say 2 lakh, more than 2 lakh it is actually, 58 lakh, and then here 4 crore 9 lakh cases. Okay. So when we come from Supreme Court to High Court to District Courts, most number of cases pending are there in the District Courts and Subordinate Courts, and over the years the pendency has been increasing, because we saw it increasing in Supreme Court, we saw it increasing in High Courts, we saw it increasing in District and Subordinate Courts. At all the levels the pendency is increasing year on year. This is not a good sign, this is alarming, and we should look into the causes of this particular rising cases in the judiciary, because it is very much important for mains point of view. Now causes, you should first understand that in majority of the cases the litigant, one of the parties is Government of India or the Government of States. That is why you see dash dash versus Government of India or dash dash versus Government of this particular state. These are the cases against the governments. Okay. So government is the major litigant in the cases, pending cases. Now causes, the judge strength is limited. Now in Supreme Court there are only 34 judges, 33 plus 1, and various high courts have different, I would say, judge strength. The district courts have different judge strengths. Okay. But if I talk about number of judges per million population in India, India has 21.3 judges per million. Compared to UK में there are 51 judges per million population. US, very good, 107 judges per million population. Hence India needs more judges for speedy justice delivery. The 120th Law Commission of India report had suggested a judge strength fixation formula. It should be there. As population is increasing, the judge strength should increase. India should utilize its most experienced judges. The retirement age for judges, the High Court judges 62, the Supreme Court judges 65, and they are very well experienced. After 65 they are doing nothing. They might be appointed as ad hoc judges, they might be there in some tribunals, but we can increase their age of retirement and we can use their experience, and it may ensure, or it definitely will ensure, speedy disposal of cases. Like 65 and 62 is there, but if I compare it with UK, 75 is the retirement age in UK or Canada, and life expectancy is also increasing. So this should be increasing. Judicial appointments, there is this collegium system of judges which we have discussed at length multiple times. This is opaque, this is not transparent, we do not know what the criteria is being kept. The constitution of All India Judicial Services, just like the All India services like IAS, IPS and all, there should be All India Judicial Services which will do hiring for the judicial setup of the country, should be done on the merit basis, and more number of people should be deployed over there. That will be under All India Judicial Services. That should be done. Administrative burden. When I talk about the administrative burden, the Indian judges, they basically spend majority of their time in scheduling of the cases, scheduling the hearings and all. This should not be their job. This should be the job of a separate administrative wing in the judiciary or a separate agency which is doing it for the judiciary. The job of the judges should be to hear the cases only. The administrative work and all should be delegated to a separate wing or to separate agencies like it is there in foreign countries. Those agencies have expertise in administration. So that should be done. It should not be like the judges only are doing this scheduling of the cases and all. So that is an additional administrative burden on them. So the Union government had suggested Indian Courts and Tribunal Services, an authority charged with supervising and fulfilling the administrative requirements of the courts, so that the judges are not doing it and judges are only hearing the cases. This will increase productivity of the court system definitely. Then we have frivolous litigations. Many I would say false litigations or I would say petty litigations are there, like bouncing of checks, landlord tenant disputes, traffic challans and all these are part of these 4 crore cases in India. These should be disposed of in a timely manner. These kind of litigations dominate, and there is no point lingering on with these kind of cases. So there should be fast track courts specially set up for these kind of litigations. Then poor judicial infrastructure. The many complexes, court complexes are rented accommodations, and any upgradation in the infrastructure is not possible in rented accommodation. So the previous CGI N.V. Ramana, he suggested that a national judicial infrastructure corporation should be created for standardization and improvement of judicial infrastructure in the country. Technology constraints, like in COVID-19 lockdowns, the courts went digital. The Supreme Court also recently had conducted e-courts. That should be the norm. That should be practiced frequently, and that should be practiced, I would say it should be there in practice, regular practice. And the computer algorithms and all could also be used to manage the roster, thus eliminating the bias. Adoption of technology should be there with the judicial system. Then issue of under trials. Around 76% prisoners in India, they are under trials, means the courts have not convicted them, the courts have not given a judgment. They are under trials, they are in the jails. The courts have said that put them under jail, we will be listening their cases. And if I talk about the prisoners in India, 76% of them are under trials. They go for their hearings and all. The police takes them. And you can just imagine by this particular fact that 76% of the prisoners, their cases are pending in the courts. The courts are not able to hear them, give speedy justice to them, or this is putting an additional burden on the Indian prisons as well. So this is something which is alarming and should be looked into. Then we have frequent adjournments. The courts are frequently adjourned, and at times they are adjourned without any reason. So that is also problematic. Okay. Volume of appeals. The volume of appeals are very high, and there is a method, special leave petition, where people file these kind of petitions, PILs and all are filed. 90% of them are rejected, but the judges have to look into those kind of applications, which consumes a lot of time. 90% are rejected, they are not admitted for hearing in the courts. So why waste time on such kind of appeals? Different setup should be done for them. Poor management practices. Okay. The system of long vacation for courts. Actually the courts, particularly Supreme Court and High Courts, they go for vacations every year, and this is a colonial practice, and we are taking and we have carried it forward. Various, I would say, people like former CGI Lodha recommended that instead of all judges going on vacations at one time, individual judges should take their leave at different times throughout the year. It will ensure that the courts are constantly open and there is always benches present to hear cases. Absenteeism of judges. Despite of this long leave, judges are also absent during their normal working days. So, that has to be restricted, and a no leave formula for judges during working days should be applied. No leave formula, obviously health and all is important. So, if a judge is not healthy or is not feeling well, that kind of leave is permissible, but largely no leave policy is there. Okay. So, this is absenteeism of judges. Then poor case flow management. When I talk about the poor case flow management, the SC had drawn up a fine blueprint on case management, on how to get more cases moving along. For instance, on 3 different tracks, that is fast track, normal track and slow track. But it has not been implemented, and due to which the flow of the cases is poor. Low numbers of special courts, like we discussed POCSO. There are no, I would say, special courts for POCSO. Only 400 something districts have a special court for POCSO. Having special courts will reduce the burden on the mainstream judiciary, and it will distribute the cases. And special courts like the court for POCSO, there can be court for any, I would say, economic tribunal can be there for hearing the economic cases and all. So, the number of special courts in India are low, and that is why it is a reason why the pendency of cases are high in the country. Okay. So, this is very I would say important, and an important topic for mains perspective, because you have a lot of points here, that what are the causes, what can be done, what have been the recommendations of the previous I would say CJIs or the government, what it has recommended. Okay. So, that can be implemented for streamlining the judiciary, and most of all, number of judges, they need to be increased. That is very important. Okay. The next is China Indian Ocean Regional Forum. Now, to understand this topic, let us connect with other topics which I have which I have mentioned earlier, that countries these days, particularly the large countries, the dominant players like India, China, USA and all, they are not looking to expand territorially. On the territory, they are not looking to expand, because territory is well defined by borders, and if they go for expanding on territory, they will invite unnecessary problems for them, the geopolitical problems for them. But they are looking to expand their sphere of influence in the waters now. USA is doing it from very long time. China started doing it, I think, in the first decade of the 21st century, and now South China Sea issue and all have come up. India is also doing it. India has its policies like the Sagar policy, security and growth for all in the region. India wants to be a net security provider in the Indian Ocean region. So, India's influence in the Indian Ocean region is good, and it is increasing day by day. China is not liking the fact. China is not liking the fact, and obviously China will do something, and China has done this. China has done what? China has recently convened the first China Indian Ocean Regional Forum, bringing together 19 countries from the region. 19 countries from the region means Indian Ocean region. Was India also part of it? No, India was not invited. So, participating countries were 19, we will just discuss. Now, experts, they are believing that China has taken this step, China Indian Ocean Regional Forum, as a counter or as an alternate to Indian Ocean Rim Association. India has this Indian Ocean Rim Association, which has 23 countries. We will look into the details of Indian Ocean Rim Association also, and it has taken strong roots and it is expanding day by day. So, in order to counter that, in order to counter this organization, or in order to counter India's influence in the Indian Ocean region, China has come up with this particular forum. It is similar to the Indian Ocean Rim Association. Now, the participating countries in China Indian Ocean Regional Forum were Indonesia, Pakistan, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Maldives, Nepal, Afghanistan, Iran, Oman, South Africa, Kenya, Mozambique, Tanzania, Seychelles, Madagascar, Mauritius, Djibouti, Australia, and representatives of 3 international organizations were present. India was reportedly not invited to the regional forum. Theme and objectives of this China Indian Ocean Regional Forum was, the meeting was held in a hybrid manner under the theme of shared development, theory and practice from the perspective of the blue economy. Blue economy is basically a term which is used for any economic activity which is related to the waters. Economic activity can be fishing, economic activity can be, I would say, pearl farming, economic activity can be tourism. So, that all is part of blue economy. Okay. Marine disasters prevention and mitigation cooperation mechanism. This was the second, I would say, objective. China proposed to establish a marine disaster prevention and mitigation cooperation mechanism between China and countries in the Indian Ocean region. China expressed its willingness to provide necessary financial, material and technical support to countries in need. Now, we need to understand this fact that at the global level, whatever things are happening now, they are taking into account climate change, and once they are taking into account climate change, they are also taking into account disasters which are happening due to climate change. COP27 was, I would say, dominated by this particular theme, and we covered that extensively. So, here also China is talking about, marine disaster prevention and mitigation. So, as an aspirant, we need to develop this thought process, or we need to develop this viewpoint that any international cooperation happening these days, especially with the coastal countries, it will include climate change, it will include disasters, and it will include techniques and methods to make countries more resilient, more I would say the infrastructure in those countries should be more resilient to the disasters caused due to climate change. Pakistan, floods came this year. Pakistan started claiming that these floods have come due to climate change, although it was not a proven fact, but yes, they started claiming it, and they started asking for reparation, means give us money, the developed countries, this disaster is because of you, climate change. So, this will be there. Now, about IORA. Okay. When I talk about IORA, is an intergovernmental organization which was established in March 1997, and when it was established, it was not IORA, it was Indian Ocean Rim Initiative and the Indian Ocean Rim Association for Regional Cooperation, IORARC it was called as. Okay. IORARC. Initially it was called as Indian Ocean Rim Initiative, then it was renamed Indian Ocean Rim Association for Regional Cooperation, then it was again renamed Indian Ocean Rim Association. Now it is known as IORA. The secretariat means headquarters is in Mauritius, city is Ebene, where it is headquartered. It became an observer of the United Nations General Assembly and the African Union in 2015. It is an observer, it has got observer status in these two organizations. Members, 23 member states, 9 dialogue partners. We will see who are the member states and who are the dialogue partners. This region is home to 35% of the world's population and also accounts for 19% of the total GDP of the world. Moreover, 80% of seaborne trade uses sea routes through the Indian Ocean region, 80% of the seaborne oil trade, and 1 lakh commercial vessels depend on this route every year, means the Indian Ocean routes. So, very significant region of the world. Now when I talk about the member countries, here are the member countries: Australia, Bangladesh, all having Indian Ocean, Comoros, France. France is questionable. France, Indian Ocean does not touch. Then why France is here? You need to find out. India, Indonesia, Iran, Kenya. A hint here is that a colony of France is there in the Indian Ocean region. You need to find out which colony of France is there. Madagascar, Malaysia, Maldives, Mauritius, Mozambique, Oman, Seychelles, Singapore, Somalia, South Africa, Sri Lanka, Tanzania, Thailand, UAE, Yemen. China is not part of IORA, and that is why China has started its own China Indian Ocean Regional Forum. Dialogue partner, China is there. Dialogue partners are who? Dialogue partners are those countries which take part in the meetings and all but are not full-time members. China, Egypt, Germany, Italy, Japan, South Korea, Russia, Turkey, United Kingdoms, United States. These are dialogue partners. From UPSC point of view, dialogue partners are not important, but yes, membership is important, and UPSC is known to ask questions on membership, and France is a member of this particular organization, and some offbeat is there with respect to France. So hint is you need to find out why France is. The hint here is that a colony of France is in the Indian Ocean region. Objectives: to promote sustainable growth and balanced development of the region. These are the objectives of IOR. To focus on those areas of economic cooperation which provide maximum opportunities for development, shared interest and mutual benefits. To promote liberalization, remove impediments and lower barriers towards a freer and enhanced flow of goods, services, investment, technology with the Indian Ocean rim. All these have to be done in the Indian Ocean region. Priority areas on which the Indian Ocean Rim Association focuses. There are 8 priority areas. Maritime safety and security, because there are various pirates and all who are active in the African region side. Particularly Somalia was known for having pirates. Then trade and investment facilitation, that is very important. Fisheries management, important. Disaster risk management, you can see the symbol of cyclone. Then we have tourism and cultural exchanges, academic science and technology cooperation, blue economy and women's economic empowerment. This was added in 2018 or 19 as a priority area, and again UPSC can ask a question that which of the following are priority areas in IORA, and it can give you this option. People will think that this option will not be true, but yes, it is part of IORA, or it is a priority area listed in IORA. Antimicrobial resistance. To understand this topic, antimicrobial resistance, we need to understand one thing, that when we get ill, okay, the doctor prescribes us medicine, the doctor prescribes us antibiotics, okay, and says that you have to complete this course of antibiotics for 5 days. That antibiotic will go in our body and will attack the bacteria which has caused that disease. Now most of the times what happens, 3 days we have that antibiotic and we feel okay, we leave that antibiotic, we stop consuming that antibiotic, but that antibiotic had to be consumed for 5 days. Now the bacteria, majority of it got killed, but the remaining bacteria became used to that antibiotic. It came in contact with that antibiotic, but the antibiotic did not kill that bacteria. That bacteria adapted itself to that antibiotic medicine, and that bacteria will develop resistance against that antibiotic. In future, that antibiotic, when I consume, that antibiotic will not kill that bacteria which is causing the disease. As a result, the effectivity of that antibiotic reduces. This is called as antimicrobial resistance. and this is a worrying situation all over the world, because the scientists are doing the research work and all, but the humans, they are not properly following the guidelines, and due to which antimicrobial resistance is developed in their bodies. And in future, if any disease happens and you consume the same drug, the bacteria or the microbes inside your body have become resistant to that particular drug. They will not die, and you will remain ill, and it can turn fatal also. It can kill you also. So that is antimicrobial resistance. Now, why was it in news? Let's see. Recently, the Indian Council of Medical Research, ICMR, has called upon the doctors to avoid using antibiotics for conditions such as low-grade fever and viral bronchitis. In such conditions, don't prescribe antibiotics. Recently, a multi-center survey carried out by ICMR to spot the trend in antibiotic resistance. Actually, why did ICMR do it? Why did ICMR suggest this? ICMR did a survey, and in that survey, it showed that Acinetobacter baumannii, a gram-negative bacteria known to cause infection in the blood, urinary tract and lungs, among others, was resistant to high-end antibiotics. This bacteria which is there in our body, which causes infection in our lungs, in urinary tract and in the blood, it was found to be resistant to the high-end antibiotics. The survey found 5% samples of Acinetobacter baumannii tested in 2021 were resistant to carbapenems, a high-end antibiotic. So, when the ICMR found it, that is why ICMR said that for these kind of diseases, don't prescribe antibiotics, because people will not complete the course and the bacteria inside them will become resistant. Instead, treat them with the symptom suppressing drugs. Symptom suppressing drugs, like we get fever. Fever is a symptom of various diseases. Now the symptom suppressing drug is paracetamol, Dolo. You take it, the fever will come down. So treated like this. Okay. So this was done, and let the body in itself only fight with those kind of bacteria which are there. What is gram negative bacteria? Because this is important, UPSC can ask the question. Gram negative bacteria are classified by the color they turn to after a chemical process called gram staining is used on them. Like we have a bacteria, we will pour a chemical on that bacteria, and if that chemical which is poured on that bacteria, it turns red, then we will call it gram negative bacteria. If it turns blue, we will call it gram positive bacteria. This process is called as gram staining. Gram negative bacteria are enclosed in a protective capsule, like this is a capsule kind of, and the bacteria will be found here. This capsule helps prevent the white blood cells which fight infection. We have the WBCs here which fight infection. The WBCs cannot go to these bacteria in normal situation. Okay, and but if this capsule is broken, then this bacteria comes out, then these WBCs enter the capsule and fights them. Okay. So this is the basic setup of gram negative bacteria in our body. Okay. When disrupted, this membrane releases toxic substances called endotoxins. This membrane releases endotoxins. Endotoxins contribute to severity of symptoms during infections like fever and all. Gram negative bacteria cause infections including pneumonia, bloodstream infections, wound on surgical site infections, and meningitis in healthcare settings. So these kind of infections are caused by gram negative bacteria. Next news is with respect to sports governance, and sports governance is a very important topic. Actually, this topic is gaining prominence in UPSC, and PT Usha recently it was announced that she will become the first female to head Indian Olympic Association. Now, for us as UPSC aspirant, it is not necessary or it is not important that PT Usha is heading or who is heading the Indian Olympic Association. UPSC will not ask, but yes, about Indian Olympic Association it can ask. So, I have covered that. The history of IOA, if we have to see, was established in the year 1927 with Sir Dorabji Tata and Dr. A.G. Noharen as the founding president. Dorabji Tata was the founding president and A.G. Noharen was the Secretary General respectively. It is registered as a non-profit organization under the Societies Registration Act of 1860. About IOA, if I have to talk about, the Indian Olympic Association is the governing body for the Olympic movement and Commonwealth Games in India. Means if any athlete has to be represented in Commonwealth Games or in the Olympic Games, IOA will be facilitating that. There is a body, International Olympic Commission, IOC, at the international level. For that body is responsible for conducting Olympic Games and all in the world. And from India, the face of India for IOC is IOA. Okay. And basically it is an affiliate member of International Olympic Committee, IOC. Likewise, there is a central body for conducting Commonwealth Games. It is called as Commonwealth Games Federation. Affiliate member, IOA is also an affiliate member of Commonwealth Games Federation, Olympic Council of Asia, Association of National Olympic Committees. The IOA administers various aspects of sports governance and athletes' welfare in the country. In this regard, the IOA oversees the representation of athletes or teams participating in the Olympic Games, Commonwealth Games, Asian Games and other international multi-sports competitions of IOC, CGF, OCA and ANOC. The Indian Olympic Association is recognized by Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports. The Indian Olympic Association is currently governed by a 32-member executive council headed by the president, and this is not the president of India, this is the president of IOA, which PT Usha is going to become. The election for the executive council is held once in every 4 years. So, this is IOA. You can understand in this way that like what BCCI is for cricket, IOA is for various athletic sports in India which are there in the Olympic Games or Commonwealth Games. Next is blue bugging. Very important. What is blue bugging? Basically, it is a cyber security threat. Blue basically comes from the word Bluetooth. Bugging, basically the hackers, if they find that your Bluetooth is on, what they will do is they will enter your phone, or they will connect their devices with your phone, and they will be taking all the information out from your phone. Not only they can connect with your phone, they can connect with your earbuds also, because earbuds also operate on Bluetooth. Now, once they find that your earbuds are on, which will obviously be connected through Bluetooth to your mobile phone, so they will enter that connection, that Bluetooth connection on your earbuds or earphones which are Bluetooth enabled, and they will start doing various activities. They can listen to your phone calls, they can record your phone calls, they can take out your contacts, they can see what your UPI pin is, because while you are entering a UPI pin, they will be seeing all that because they will mirror your screen. Basically, they have entered your cyberspace. Your cyberspace is your mobile phone or your laptop, which is also connected through Bluetooth at times, and they are bugging it. They have entered your cyberspace and they are taking out all the information. That is called as blue bugging. Okay. What is blue bugging? It is a form of hacking that lets attackers access the devices through its discoverable Bluetooth connection. Once a device or phone is blue bugged, a hacker can listen to the calls, read and send messages, and steal and modify contacts. It started out as a threat for laptops with Bluetooth capability. Later, hackers used the technique to target mobile phones and other devices also. Blue bugging attacks, they work by exploiting Bluetooth enabled devices, already covered. The device's Bluetooth must be in discoverable mode, which is the default setting on most devices. You just put your Bluetooth on and it will be discoverable. The hacker then tries to pair with the devices via Bluetooth. Once a connection is established, hackers can use the brute force attacks to bypass authentication. Brute force attacks are basically a kind of cyber attacks in which authentication and all is bypassed, means your fingerprint and all, they can enter your phone without using passwords, without using fingerprints and all. So, those are called as brute force attacks. They can install malware. Malware stands for malicious software in the compromised device, compromised devices in which they have hacked into to gain unauthorized access to it. Blue bugging can happen whenever a Bluetooth enabled device is within a 10-meter radius of the hacker. However, according to the blog by VPN service provider NordVPN, hackers can use booster antennas to widen the attack range. Many a times when I travel by metro, so on my phone screen pops up that this ear plug wants to connect. Okay, I decline it because that can be a blue bug which wants to enter my space, my phone. I immediately switch off my Bluetooth. So, that is blue bugging. Susceptible devices, any Bluetooth enabled device is susceptible. True wireless stereo means your speakers and all, they are also susceptible. Okay, they can record any kind of device which has Bluetooth is susceptible. Main thing is that. Next is small modular reactors. You might have heard about nuclear power reactors. Nuclear power reactors generate electricity by I would say nuclear reaction, nuclear fission reaction is there. A lot of heat is generated and electricity is produced by using that heat. That heat is used to convert the water into steam. The steam is then put on the turbines or blown on the turbines rotate and electricity is generated. This is the process. Is it a fossil fuel, uranium, or these nuclear fuels, are they fossil fuels? No, they are not fossil fuels. They are not fossil fuels, they are considered in this category of non-fossil based fuels. Are they environment friendly? Yes, comparatively they are environment friendly as compared to fossil based fuels. Are they renewable energy? No, they are not renewable energy, but they are non-fossil based. Okay. And India has set a target for itself that 500 gigawatts of electricity it has to generate by using non-fossil based fuels, and nuclear power is part of non-fossil based. Other forms like solar energy, wind energy, tidal energy are also non-fossil based. Hydropower is also non-fossil based. These kind of methods for electricity generation are environment friendly. So, but here the problem is with nuclear power, the problem is that the reactors are huge. It takes time to construct them, and these reactors, they are constructed on site where the actually power generation or this nuclear power plant is there, which is which comes with a lot of, I would say, logistic hurdles. But this piece which we are covering is small modular reactors. These small modular reactors are small in size, like here we have, and are helpful in generating electricity. These are also generating electricity, but these generate electricity up to 300 megawatts. But the large reactors, they are generating electricity to up to 700 megawatts each reactor. Here each reactor is generating up to 300 megawatts. Then we have a concept of micro reactor also, which is generating less than 10 megawatts. Okay. Comparatively easy to construct. These can be constructed in the factories and then can be brought here for installation. These have to be constructed on site only, but the classification, the basis of classification is the amount of electricity generated. The amount of electricity generated in large conventional reactors is 700 megawatts. Here it is 300 megawatts. Here it is less than 10 megawatts. But the question is, how many of these, which of these are there for commercial practices. Means which of these are there in practice? This is there in practice, this is not there in practice, this is a concept, this is not there in practice, this is a concept, but this soon is going to be there in practice. Okay. Now, why was it in news? Union Minister of State of the Ministry of Science and Technology recently said India is taking steps for development of small modular reactors, SMR. These are small modular reactors with up to 300 megawatt capacity to fulfill its commitment to clean energy transition. What are small modular reactors? Are advanced nuclear reactors that have a power capability of 300 megawatts per unit, which is about 1/3 of the generating capacity of traditional, I would say, reactors. Small means physically a fraction of the size of the conventional nuclear power reactor. Modular, making it possible for systems and components to be factory assembled and transported as a unit to the location for installation. Reactors, harnessing nuclear fission to generate heat to produce energy. Small modular reactors. Advantages: 300 megawatt electricity, flexible in design they are, can be generated, require smaller footprint. Footprint is basically the amount of pollution you are doing to generate or to create that particular, I would say, equipment, the reactor. For the reactor, you will be polluting something. That, let's suppose cement is used in that reactor. So, for creating that cement or for producing that cement, some amount of emissions might have been done. That is called as the footprint. So, the footprint of SMR is comparatively lower as compared to the traditional large reactor. Being mobile and agile technology, SMR can be factory built, unlike the large nuclear reactors. SMR is a promising technology in industrial decarbonization, especially where there is a requirement of reliable and continuous supply of power. Okay. It is simpler, safer compared to the large nuclear power plants. Disadvantages: lack of development. We have not developed it, it is still in the concept stage. Cost effectiveness depends on the production. We are saying that it is cost effective, but it will depend on the production. And once we start doing it, we will come to know. Licensing issues, licensing issues basically, if you are generating that particular reactor or creating or manufacturing that reactor, there are various licenses which you will have to take, which ensure the safety of humans, because this is a risky affair, nuclear power. Next piece of news: carbon capture and utilization and storage policy. Now, this policy basically is being developed by India, but what is carbon capture? In our first INDCs, which we submitted in after 2005 COP21, we said that we will create an additional carbon sink of 2.5 to 3 gigatons of CO2. Carbon sink means that those objects which will suck in the carbon, like trees, they take in carbon dioxide, they give oxygen. The marine ecosystem, that also consumes oxygen, that also consumes carbon dioxide. But these are natural carbon sinks. What if we manufacture or we create certain blocks that capture carbon in the atmosphere, and we can use that carbon which is captured from the atmosphere for various purposes, like for manufacturing lead, for manufacturing other carbon based objects. So, that is carbon capture, utilization and storage policy talking about. It is not only talking about the artificial carbon sinks, it is also talking about the natural carbon sinks. So, natural as well as artificial or man-made carbon sinks. Okay. Niti Aayog recently launched the carbon capture, utilization and storage. They recently launched this I would say policy framework and its deployment mechanism in India. CCUS is the technology for decarbonizing carbon dioxide from high polluting sectors such as steel, cement, oil, gas, petrochemicals, fertilizers and all. Has a critical role to play for the country to halve CO2 emissions by 2050. We have to halve it, we have to bring it down to half, and by 2070 we need to be a net zero emitter, means whatever we will be emitting, that much we will be sucking back, or we will be sinking it back. So, this policy is very much important for that. The purpose of CCUS policy framework is to develop and implement a practicable framework to accelerate research and development on carbon capture, utilization and storage in India. It is key to ensuring sustainable development and growth in India, particularly for the production of clean products, and we are doing it in India. So, Atmanirbhar Bharat is also there. It also has an important role to play in enabling sunrise sectors. Sunrise sectors are those sectors which are new and growing very fast. Okay. So, like the nascent hydrogen economy in India, green hydrogen and all is there. Coal gasification is a sunrise sector. CCUS projects will also lead to a significant employment generation. On the policy framework, Niti Aayog report suggested that in the near term CCUS policy should be carbon credit or incentive based, means we will be giving carbon credits to those companies or those organizations which are involved in creating carbon sinks. As India is the third largest emitter of CO2 after China and USA, it is important for us to adopt this kind of policy framework within time. Okay. And if this policy becomes a success, we will be a net zero emitter, maybe before 2070 also we can be there. Then Global Snow Leopard Ecosystem Protection Program. Basically, Indian scientists recently received international award on behalf of Snow Leopard Conservation Alliance. Indian scientists received it, but there is a twist that the Indian scientists received it on behalf of an organization, and that organization is Global Snow Leopard Ecosystem Protection Program. Basically, it is a 12 nation intergovernmental alliance, which is 12 countries have come together that we will conserve the snow leopard, and India is part of it definitely. And on the behalf of that particular organization, this intergovernmental organizations, Indian scientists went to receive this award. This award was given by BBVA Foundation's Worldwide Biodiversity Conservation Award, it was named as. Okay. Madrid based means it is based in Spain. But what is this GSLEP? That is important, and from here the question can come. Is a first of its kind intergovernmental alliance for the conservation of snow leopard and its unique ecosystem. It is led by the environment ministers of 12 countries in Asia that form the home range of the snow leopard. These are Afghanistan, Bhutan, China, India, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Mongolia, Nepal, Pakistan, Russia, Tajikistan and Uzbekistan. The total range spans to 2 million square kilometers. So, the membership of GSLEP can be asked. The GSLEP's program secretariat, means kind of headquarters, is located in Bishkek and hosted by the Ministry of Natural Resources, Ecology and Technical Supervision of the Kyrgyz Republic, means Kyrgyzstan it is located. It was created in 2013 when the officials, politicians and conservationists arrived at a common consensus or common conservation strategy enshrined in the Bishkek Declaration. Now, UPSC can also ask a question that Bishkek Declaration is related to, then it is with conservation of the natural habitat of the snow leopards and conservation of snow leopards also. Okay. So, this is kind of a factual information, but yes, GSLEP is an intergovernmental alliance for the conservation of snow leopard. And the last piece of news we come to, that is the Manipur Sangai Festival. Manipur Sangai Festival, the Prime Minister of India recently addressed the Manipur Sangai Festival. This festival is celebrated by the Manipuris in every year, and the date is also fixed from 21st to 30th November they celebrate it. And the objective is to showcase Manipur as a world class tourism destination. The festival is named after the state animal Sangai, the brow antlered deer found only in Manipur. So, this is important. It started in the year 2010, this celebration of this festival. The theme of this year's Sangai festival is Festival of Oneness. Every edition of the festival showcases the tourism potential of the state in the field of arts and culture, handloom, handicrafts, indigenous sports, cuisine, music of the state, etc. Basically, they want to promote tourism through this particular festival. Now, details about Sangai deer. Scientific name Rucervus ld. Common name Sangai or Bro antlered deer or dancing deer. Population is about 260 according to a joint census conducted by Forest Department in 2016. Habitat and distribution is found only in the Kebul Lamjau National Park. Kebul Lamjau National Park also has this Loktak Lake in Manipur, which has floating fumdis. It is also known as the floating lake. Okay. You might have studied it in geography, or you will study in geography if not. The status of Sangai deer, it is a state animal of Manipur. Schedule 1 of Wildlife Protection Act. When there is an animal listed in the Schedule 1 of the Wildlife Protection Act, you are not allowed to poach that animal. Endangered on IUCN Red List. So, this is basically all the information about Sangai deer you need to have. And with this, we have reached the end of today's lecture.